Good. It went well. The service was great, and I think there's a good feeling in the really good feeling in the room. And,
Too bad. I'm
yeah,
sitting down.
I am glad.
I just stood for a
How
very
how
long
did you
time.
feel about your service?
We can move these chairs up on the
Oh, Randy, should we move the chairs on the bima?
Sure. Oh, okay. Sure.
Okay, but we are sitting.
And do these go up too?
Maybe. I think the mic can stay down here if
Yeah,
we need to go up.
The mics can stay for sure. I'll come adjust them.
There you go.
Thank you, Daniel. Okay, can we get, no, this is not, I don't think it's on.
Should be on now.
Okay, can anyone hear me? Is this on?
Michael
No.
needs to do it.
Okay.
It's on, but Michael.
Hi, Rob. You saw Gabe? That's good.
So I'm going to mention you for, here's the little script I wrote down.
Good to see you, Rob.
Karen, I believe
Oh.
some history and engagement related to what we've called triple high and about education, which okay.
But you can't give her the
Okay.
answers. The
Sure.
questions. That's like, they gave the Hillary.
Yeah. Right.
I'm gonna raise a ruckus.
Yeah. And there was an earpiece. She had an earpiece
And
too.
they edited something together. They spliced it together. I am incensed.
Oh, is he telling us to do?
Well, how would we know?
He's trying to get it to work, isn't he? We just ignore him.
If anybody has an excuse to do it, it's you.
They're working on it. I can hear it now. You can say into it, we can hear you. Yeah, it's working.
Try it now. Yeah. Hello, can anyone hear? Is it working now?
It's working. It just needs the volume up.
Oh, how do you turn it
No, you can't. They are doing it back there. Just give them a minute. That's why it's on but not working. Michael's doing it. It's on. It's on. It just needs the volume turned up.
All right.
Is that from the church? Okay.
The rumor is that this is on now.
It's not. Will you hand it to me, Paul?
It was just a rumor.
Test.
There you go.
So I think this is not.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody.
Is this loud enough?
No.
No? All right. I think, can you hear me now? All right. Good. This session is called Honoring Our Roots to Grow for Tomorrow, which in my mind is such a broad statement that as to be nearly meaningless.
The way we like
So, which is not a criticism of anybody. I think I may have even helped create that title myself. But I've always reserved the right to edit myself. So I will elaborate by saying that in the Oneg room, right outside here, is a banner that you may have noticed that reads, CRC inspires, CRC advocates, CRC engages. And we, in our first 40 years, have in fact become known for these very things. We've inspired many people to pay more attention to their Jewish heritage or their Judaism because of the inclusive, tolerant, respectful, and creative ways in which we've approached Jewish life. We've become known for our advocacy with respect to reproductive rights, civil rights, healthcare, and much more. And we've been able to engage many of our members in education, in advocacy, in music, and other areas. But COVID took a toll on us as it did on every organization in this country and in the world. And as we now are definitely out of the pandemic era, we're at an inflection point. Many of us, me included, feel that we need new ways to inspire, advocate, and engage our members. So this session is devoted to that subject. We want to talk about how we can do that. I'm going to start by asking each of our rabbis in turn to address this question. Rabbi Karen, I know, has some ideas already about engagement related to what we have in the past called triple chai, which, as you know, means 54, but which is perhaps even more meaningless to our congregation than honoring our roots to grow for tomorrow. So, triple high needs at least a new name, but I think Karen has some ideas about reinvigorating it in more substantively. And she also has some thoughts about education, which I would put under the rubric of inspiration. Daniel, I know, has some ideas about religious observance, which also fall under the category of inspiration. And Rabbi Randy, I know, has some thoughts about relationships, which clearly fall under the category of engagement. So I'm going to ask each rabbi in turn to elaborate on where they already are in their thinking, and then we can open this conversation up to all of you. So I'm going to start with Rabbi Karen.
Hi, everyone. You haven't heard enough from us today, right? So one of the things we've been working on over the past year are rabbinic lanes and the kinds of responsibilities that we will oversee as rabbis. Not that it doesn't include all the rabbis, but just where does like that piece lie? And Paul said my lane, which is engagement and education. So over the next Triple High will be probably a faster project, I would say, to get it up and going than education will be to keep moving forward. So over the next few weeks, you might get an invitation to a lunch or a gathering to talk about Triple High, where you will get to, if you have ideas for a new name, we will be renaming it. But I want to hear from all of you. What kind of programming you want? What kinds of things do you want to do? What would engage you at CRC? What would get you in the building, but also get you with your CRC friends to go do something fun together? Because that's what it's really about, is having friends at CRC and coming here so you can see them and be with them. And appreciate having them in your life and doing something together. So that part is what will no longer be called Triple Chai, but I'm going to call it Triple Chai right now.
I think there are people who don't know.
You can explain what that is. Yeah.
Okay. Triple Chai, I don't know when it was started, but when I came here, it was programming for people who were Triple Chai, which is 54 and over. So it's specific programming for that age group. And one of the things I've already learned is that that age group might even be split into two age groups. So we're going to have different groups to talk about this, and there might even be two different names. I don't know. But it's programming for people who are 54 and over. And then when it comes to education, one of the things I'm going to be doing is making focus groups to talk about what you love about education at CRC, what are things that you wish had been a part of education at CRC, people who, like kids who have been through it, but also people in our community who are educators and who do this for their work. I want to talk to all of them because we are going to keep moving forward and we have a really bright future, and part of that is keeping education moving forward and reinvigorating that. In Minchmakers, thank you. Minch Makers is one of our great programs where we have a once-a-month project for kids to come in and learn about what it means to be a mensch. But hopefully that will also be more incorporated into our curriculum, that it won't just be a once-a-month program, but something that you come to CRC and you send your family here because you want them to learn how to be a mensch and all that that entails. So that is what I have been working on. So you're probably going to hear from me as far as like invitations to share your ideas and share the things, your experiences here at CRC, and also looking into the future. What are the kinds of things that you want here at CRC?
And I think Leslie's idea for name was the Altacocker Club. Was that the?
I am so triple high myself, so I just thought I'd add that.
That's a different kind of triple high program.
That was in the governing thing. Paul Wagman.
Randy, will you tap your mic?
It's not on. It's on, it's just not volumed. Okay, is Daniel next?
I'll use what?
Am I passing?
Yes.
Okay, I'm passing to you.
I'll go next while we get Randy's microphone working. So I think one of the things that we have seen that happened during the pandemic is some of the basics of synagogue life disappeared. It's pretty obvious the reasons why. All of a sudden, we were doing this from our home, right? For the better part of 2 years, we were sitting there staring at nothing but our screens. For the first year, I was sitting pushing all the buttons, and for the second year, thank you, Autumn, was pushing all the buttons, and I got to be a rabbi again. But what it meant is that so many of the ways of participating in volunteering and just being a part of community and a part of the fabric of CRC disappeared during the pandemic. So one of the ways that we're going to reinvigorate it, and this is going to be my project for the next few months, and I got to come up, but we need better names for all this stuff, but we're going to start a ritual events committee or a religious events committee. This is not a group that will redo the Siddur or redo the high holiday Machzor, though I would love for those to be groups also. But the idea is, I'll fix it in a minute, Becky. The idea is that we would have folks who take ownership of a holiday, right? Imagine all of a sudden Stephanie decides she's going to own Hanukkah. She sits on this committee. Thank you for volunteering.
I think that's voluntold.
Yeah. But the idea would be that everyone who's on this committee owns a holiday, and their job is to get a group of people who together, along with the rabbis, plan that holiday. Right, you can see, I think, immediately, first of all, the ways that people can be involved, people can form community through this, but also that we can reinvigorate some of these holiday observances, some of these traditions. Sometimes it's programs that have gone stale, and having a group of new faces with new ideas, and also people to put out the chairs and the juice and all that is helpful as well. But it also means that we can bring Jewish observance and Jewish traditions to lots more moments in our lives than even we are right now. So another example, Tu B'Av. Has anyone heard of Tu B'Av? Oh, wow, look at this. Not Tisha B'Av, but Tu B'Av is sort of like the Jewish Valentine's Day. This year, we observed it really in the smallest of ways. Karen put up a post saying, put pictures of you and your beloved up there. But if there's someone who owns Tu B'Av and a committee of people who are involved with planning Tu B'Av, there's so much that can happen. There are so many ways that we can engage and plan for it and send out little gifts or little notes to each other or whatever these end up looking like. These smaller holidays that right now are just notes become really moments of observance, moments of meaning, and most significantly, I think, places where folks can volunteer. When I look around, I think actually that is the lowest hanging fruit we have at CRC, is that it's become really hard to volunteer here. it's become really hard to be engaged in doing the work. And lots of people want to do the work. I mean, we've got some incredible ways, right? We've got the garden, we've got Mitzvah Corps, but to have other avenues, so this is coming soon. Oh, and the other piece that sort of relates to this is we're working to reinvigorate Friday nights. Saturday morning has been great and really healthy, but Friday nights, frankly, are a little anemic these days, post-pandemic, for all sorts of reasons. So we're making a few different changes there. The first is that starting this Friday, services are going to be at 6:15, not at 7. And there will be an oneg before services, snacks, wine, cheese, whatever it is, before services to come and hang out, have a snack after work or after whatever your day was, mix, schmooze, and have services at 6:15. We also have, I haven't said this out loud to anyone, so you all can be the first ones. We're working on hopefully getting a grant, partnering with the Kranzberg Foundation to take this, we love the Kranzberg Foundation, yeah? But to take some version of what is the High Holy Day Band and turn it into a monthly musical, probably in the round, concentric circles in this room, Shabbat service with a dinner for everyone afterwards, right? Like, so anyways, that we don't have the funds for that, we don't have any of that yet, but we're hopeful it's coming. We're partnering with, thank you, David Lazaroff, our, I think producer is the name that I'm giving for David on this, but so that's coming too.
Great, well, those sound like, those are very exciting prospects, Daniel, I really think just changing the Friday night services right away, I think, could be, and we've seen that work in other communities, right? I mean, this is not a completely weird idea. In fact, in St. Louis, it's done, I think, at some other synagogues. Yeah.
And if you're interested in why Friday night services have been late, we are about to be at that point in the Story of Us, Tuesdays at 5:30, where we talk about the Reform movement, and so yes.
What time will the building be open then on Friday nights to come in?
We're telling people to come at 5:45, starting at 5:45 for schmooze and wine and et cetera. We're also going to hopefully be launching a program to let folks sponsor onegs in a little easier of a way, so that you could also sponsor a larger oneg, right? Come and do a mini birthday party gathering here at CRC on a Friday night.
Go, Eric.
Came in late, I apologize. Is the format just to ask questions as you go along, or do
No.
you tell me what the format is?
No, ask your question, Eric.
I wanted, Dan, what made it hard for, as somebody who's been here in the beginning and had wonderful volunteers working with us, what made it hard for people to volunteer?
Yeah, I'll repeat it. Yeah. He wanted to know what is it that made it hard to volunteer at CRC. I think it's a combination of things. I think it is, first of all, COVID, right? So many of our structures and systems just disappeared after COVID. They just atrophied. But also, look, it is no secret what the Hebrew is balagan for mess. CRC has been, in some ways, particularly in our administrative ways, financial ways over the last few years. And thanks to an incredible amount of work and effort and generosity and some tears, and Paul had a full head of hair before he became president. It was...
Leave Paul alone.
But, you know, I feel comfortable saying this for the first time. We have turned the corner. We are on the other side of this mess. And I look around, I just want to give a shout out to a few people. We've got Nancy, we've got Cheryl, we've got so many people who worked so hard in this community and to keep this community running. I look back at the just heroic effort that Nancy did that kept us afloat for years with her love. We survived those years and thrived those years because of a combination of Nancy's love and all of her duct tape. That's the, but no, Cheryl put so much in, and so many people in this room have done so much. But we really are. We are on the other side of it. We are ready to run.
So they have a volunteer coordinator?
We actually do, in a way. I mean, Amy Gage is our membership and engagement director.
Is part of her job description to manage volunteers?
Sarah is part of Amy.
Amy just asked.
Certainly adjacent to that for sure. But I guess that leads nicely, Eric, thank you, to some of the things I want to say. And I guess I want to, first of all, really enunciate the fact that this is so Yom Kippur, what we're doing, this soul searching, and this really this desire to be better, you know? And we have a great congregation, and it you know, being at the church this morning was incredible because it was like such a thread from our beginning to our present and into our future. The fact that we're still using that space. I know some of you remember, you know, I remember going to bar and bat mitzvahs in that space and leading lock-ins with, you know, Danny Bogard running around circles around me in my 6th grade class when I was here the first time. So I just wanted to recognize what we're doing here, you know, really does have its heart in what we're supposed to be doing on these holy days. And I'm so glad that all of you came. And I guess my sort of thought experiment here is to just have everyone look around a little bit. Because what I think is, I feel from my position and having been here for, you know, 2.5 decades, I know pretty much every single person in this room, maybe minus 2 or 3. But my guess is that if you look around, you'll see more than 2 or 3 people that you've never seen before. Does that track? Yeah. And, you know, it's obvious and natural that would be the case. No one is blaming anyone for that. Are you talking about me? What are you guys doing? I'm joking. It makes sense that would be the case. But it always amazes me that, you know, here we have people that are part of this amazing community, whether they just started or whether they've been here from the beginning or everywhere in between, and there's people who just should know each other, right? Because it would be such a great connection and dynamic and relationship. I love the 3 verbs, right? Inspire, advocate, enrich. I've been thinking about it a lot, you know, because it's on a banner and I work here every day, so I have to look at it. There's a few other verbs I'd want to add that seem to me to be very much part of CRC and that I know we all want to be part of our future. One is nourish. CRC nourishes. And then CRC nurtures. You know, to me, the heart of all of this, you know, cuts through religious practice, cuts through programming, our relationships, right? And again, you've heard a number of us talk about COVID and, you know, how that drove us farther and farther away from each other. And now we can be back together. And I think it behooves us to use the power that we have as being a community of, you know, 700 households, whatever we are, to keep figuring out ways to connect to each other and nurture each other and nourish each other. You know, I think there's programs around the country, talk about best practices, where, you know, for some people, you know, what I've watched over the years is that there's a time where people are really wanting to come to the synagogue and the services, and then for different reasons, they sort of, you know, drift away for a bit, and then sometimes they come back, and then there's a reason they want to be here. And I've always been really okay with that. Like, you know, there's that old joke about the preacher who spends the whole sermon saying, why weren't you here? Why aren't you here last Sunday? Well, I'm here now, right? But part of that is maybe we need to figure out ways not to replace coming to synagogue, but for synagogue coming to you, Is Janet here? I saw Janet Rogers. Just a few weeks ago, we did a Hanukkah Bayit ceremony. Does anyone know what that is? Hanukkah Bayit? What word do you recognize? Hanukkah. Hanukkah means dedication, rededication in the case of Hanukkah, but a dedication. What's Bayit? House. Janet and Lee moved into this wonderful house. It took some time for it to get to what the shape it needed to be in. And then we had this ceremony, we hung the mezuzah, we had some challah, and we sang, and we shared with people that Janet and Lee love, their 3 children. To me, that's part of our role, isn't just to wait for everyone to come to us. And that's not the only example. But, I don't know, maybe there's a Shabbat dinner you want to put together, and maybe it would be nice, or maybe not, but if you felt it would be nice to have someone who's a rabbi there, to do, like, seriously, like, invite me, Steve Skrenka. There you go. Yeah. Destination dinner. Thank you. So, yeah. Love it. I'm all over it. Steve is talking about an idea that's not only a synagogue idea, but a lot of communities, a destination dinner. Nancy named it, but I'm really interested in keeping on connecting us, But well, we do have a softball team, and I do want to give myself credit for naming the softball team many years ago. That we are the city slickers, right? Because, yeah. So, but all those things are great ideas, and then on another side of the same coin, we want to continue. Whoever wants rabbinic presence for whatever reason, wonderful reasons and difficult and challenging and sad reasons. People say to me sometimes, "Well, you're so busy." Well, that's what I'm busy doing, right? Is being out there with people. And again, not everyone needs that or wants that, and I'm okay with that. But for those that do, please know the 3 of us, Daniel and Karen, are wonderful and with big, huge hearts. And we've all, learned from the best around here on what it means to serve. And maybe that's the last verb, is CRC serves. And I don't want that to ever stop. And I want to be part of going forward, figuring out new, better, different, unique, holy ways of service.
Rabbi Randy, I do feel the need to let you know that to serve is young people's slang that we'll teach you later also. Those are the giggles you're getting back there.
Still means what I was talking about. So.
Look at them dying.
You mean tennis?
Exactly what we mean.
Why don't we open it up now to your comments and questions? And I think the question I want to pose to you is, what is it that you think, what could we be doing that we're not doing now that would bring more engagement or more meaning to your experience to your relationship with CRC? What would excite you, that we're either not doing now, or that maybe we are doing it, but you don't even know about it, because a lot of people don't actually know what some of our current offerings are. But let me throw that question out to the group, please. Yes, sir.
Hold on, he's fixing it.
right into it. Just keep talking.
Yeah, why don't you stand up?
Helps if you turn it on.
Keep going. I'll turn up the volume as you go.
Pre-member and new member, then new member orientations. And we used to have the pre-member event where.
We do.
Do we still? Okay. Because what was so big about that, and Paul, it feeds into what you said as a joke at the end of services, sort of, that we want, well, most of you to join. Because back then we were saying we don't want everyone to join. And you know, that we were very clear of who we were as a congregation, and we didn't have all the expenses that we needed to have people join just to get their money, which is what other congregations are pushing for. Do we still make it real clear? And, okay.
So about 4 times every year, we have a prospective member or new member brunch. Amy Gage is now kind of in charge of those, but all the rabbis go, and Paul's often there, and we talk about the history of CRC and how we got to this point, and then share how to become a member and things like that. So we have been still having those for, I think, as long as I've been here. We've been inviting people to services and then to come to a brunch to talk about CRC and what it looks like to be a part of this community.
And then do we emphasize with the orientation, signing up and being, because it used to be you had to pay money and you had to do volunteer service.
Amy's been really on top of a lot of that. We're really grateful that she's on board.
But I want to address one thing that I think Philip has touched on that I want to make sure, and I know it's in your head and your soul, and I just want to make sure it's everyone's. One of the reasons for that, you called it pre-membership, or what do we call it, prospective membership, is we really want people to know who we are. What's the soul, the core values of this congregation. And there are things about CRC that, you don't have to be pro-choice, to belong to CRC, but we are a pro-choice congregation. We're a member of a coalition of, of interfaith communities that are in favor of reproductive rights and continuing and carrying on reproductive rights. The openness and embrace of the LGBTQ community and Jews of color and, formerly, we hope, marginalized communities, but looking for future marginalized communities. It's not like anyone's ever walked out of there and said, well, if you're for that, I'm not, this isn't for me. And it's not like we have a litmus test, but we just want people to know who we are. We want to know who they are as well. And one of the beauties of that meeting is everyone goes around and says their story, their Torah. And we tell our Torah, the Torah of CRC, and the things that we value, the things that we care about, the things that we fight for. And we haven't mentioned social justice and social responsibility, and Philip Deitch is one of those people who, make sure that even if we would, which we wouldn't, that we don't lose sight of that. And that's a really important part of CRC advocates. And people know when they join here that we take stands, and we want to make sure that we're there fighting the good fight when it comes to our core values and what we believe in. So that is something we still do, Philip, and thank you for your part in making that a reality. Correct.
Yes, we definitely are on top of that. Amy is very much on top of that, but part of the application is what they're interested in, and so Amy sends that to us, and we follow up with them about ways to get involved.
Elliot.
Yeah, 3 very quick and somewhat mundane but technical points that I think would help. The first is there are a lot of classes and things, and I'd love to do them, but they're in person and there's not a video feed. And I know there's a big push to get people into this, and I'd like to be here and would be here more often. But the simple fact is, not everybody can get to everything, and I think if more of the classes and more of the sessions had a video feed as well, I think that would get more people in, and some of them would show up periodically in person. So I think that's one. No.
Let me just tell you a little bit, because we're thinking that way too. So for instance, this fall, I'm teaching 3 different classes. Tuesday night, 5:30, is going to be Mishnah Torah text class. It is online only. It is only on Zoom. I'm doing it from my home.
And that one's been hybrid.
That's been hybrid for a long time.
For years.
But I'm looking forward to PJ pants again, like the pandemic. Wednesdays at 5 o'clock, we have Beit Midrash in this room, in person only. Thursdays at noon is Torah from scratch, hybrid.
Everything I believe that gets streamed is on our YouTube channel, so you can always go to YouTube and find all kinds of CRC stuff.
Not my Tuesday text class. It doesn't exist on YouTube because it's really,
It's Zoom, right? It's not
yeah, it's a
streamed.
Zoom experience back and forth. It's not really a frontal class.
Okay, number two, the calendar, and I just looked at on my phone, it's still a little clunky. It's not very user-friendly. And number three, and you alluded to this, and I know this is not really the best subject to be talking about today, but you know, you work on the ONEG, and more things involving food. And I have a personal relationship to this, but the food is a way of bringing people in. There's a joke where you just bring a heart through a stomach and then up. But really, it's a way, people breaking bread together in whatever capacity. And I would volunteer for some of those dinners helping out. Yeah. I mean, that's just, bring more people come for food.
And people love when we talk about food on Yom Kippur afternoon. It's always, one just other note on the religious events committee, we need a better name. One of the visions certainly that I have for it is that every holiday should have an educational program around it to learn. It should have a justice program or tie-in, and it should have a food event also. So that's all coming. What is this, Yom Kippur clapping for food? Is that? Because if so, can we talk about coffee?
Amy, did you want to add something?
I did. I just wanted to introduce myself to anybody who I don't know. I do know a lot of people in the room. And
I got you, keep going.
I'm so sorry.
Keep going.
Keep going.
It's me.
Part of my job is engagement.
But talk into the mic, please, so I can turn it down.
What should I do?
Point it right at your mouth.
Okay. Like
There
that.
you go.
So I'm the Director of Member Services and Engagement. And so if after you leave here and you're excited and you want to get involved, you want to, be involved in a dinner or whatever, I'd love to be, your point person. So feel free to reach out to me, Amy at centralreform.org, or call Amy, call the office. So I'll be working super closely with the rabbis on all of this engagement, all of these activities. So I just wanted you to put my name with my face, and I'm super excited to work with so many of you on getting more involved.
Amy, will you pass the mic over here? We have a
Yes,
hand up.
actually, can I give it to Hillary first, and then we'll...
And then this hand's been up for a really long time, so if we could do both. You can start over here and then come here, but we got to get both. You can start here and then come here.
Hi, my name's Hillary Fruman. I'm a new member. This is my husband, John.
Welcome.
And I have been coming to a number of the 5:30 classes, 5 o'clock classes. They're very good. I've enjoyed them, and I was hoping to use them as a way to meet members. It's very hard. The last time on a Tuesday night, there were, I think, 3 of us in the room with the rabbi and maybe 12 people on Zoom. That's the problem with Zoom. It's very effective for people who cannot get to the synagogue, or as you call it, a congregation, but I think we need to encourage people. Don't just think, well, it's easier to just do it by Zoom. It really isn't effective for creating
Community.
a congregation and community.
Yep. And that's why we're separating them out, where Tuesday will be online and Wednesday will just be in person.
So, and let me, we're going to get to Roger. Was it Roger who? Yeah.
No, right over
Okay.
in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
middle.
And that's part, I heard Karen Flotty say staggered timing because everyone has different schedules. And then I'm the last person to, I feel like anyone that is coming to services wants and needs to be there. But I will say this, and classes are wonderful, and I do hope that more people come more often to in-person classes. We used to, that used to be all in person, obviously before we kind of branched out, which also was a blessing. But if you ever could make it Saturday morning, feels to me like it's as close to a community day, Shabbat, that we get. People are here for religious school. People are here for services. Some people sit in the living room just to kind of be in our Sukkot Shalom. It's really the day so far. Maybe there'll be another day that emerges like that. But Saturday morning into early afternoon really is a day you can meet people, and people are really open to meeting new folks and extending themselves. And there's this very communal feeling here, intergenerational, and people from all walks of life. It's just sort of the meeting place of CRC. And it's not everyone can do it, and not everyone wants to do it. But I just put a plug in right now. I see a number of people who are Saturday morning regulars, and Friday night's lovely too. But there's something, I think, here, really quickly, the history is, we started out in the church. We couldn't have Sunday school, right? So we had Saturday school. When we have our own space, we didn't really go to Sunday school because Saturday felt so holy with so many people here for so many different reasons. So I offer that.
Okay, yes.
Hi, I'm Julie Stone. I think I've been a member for 30 years, or coming for 30 years. I found CRC as a graduate student at WashU with the temple that was at Coca Friday Holiday 2 blocks from where I was living my first year here. So anyway, I've been in and out for a long time. I know a ton of people. I engage kind of when I feel like it. I'm not the joiner that's here all the time. A lot of it, and I've been interested certainly in getting involved, but to be honest with you, and I think this is probably true for a lot of people, sometimes when you're in a space that's sacred for you, you don't want to know how the sausage is made, right? Because it takes off the mystery and the wonderfulness to sort of understand what's going on behind the scenes. So in this, I want to say thank you to Paul and to the boards, because I think you had to dive in and figure out how the sausage was made, because whether you wanted to or not, because maybe we've been ignoring it for a long time, for all the right reasons, unintentionally, right? We wanted to do everything we wanted to do, every good idea we wanted to add, every person we wanted to include, we include. And we don't know how to say no here. We're terrible at that. I work for the very
Sarah's
department.
teaching us to say
Yeah,
no.
Sarah's really good at that.
I don't know where she went.
But we haven't known how to do that. And I think as an observation, and I hope this is okay, I think for years this temple also went through the tension of the keepers of the gate, of the original founders, of what it was intended to be, and then you add 700 families from everywhere, and everybody wants it to be something else, and how do we stay true to that original mission? And that got pretty scary for a while, right? It was, wait, you can't, you can. And I think all those things led us to where we are. But I think maybe we're finally at that turning point where we've all recognized, for a myriad of reasons, that to keep it going, we have to figure out how to do it differently while holding on to the original. And the keepers of the gate have to have faith that the new way is going to be okay. So that's where I start. Now I go to my professional side. And
Thank you, Julie.
Jewish people are terrified of plans, right? Because plans mean that somehow I'm being boundaried and I can't do what I want to do, and they can't change, and now we've said this is the way we're going to do it, and it won't be flexible. And everything, and I know, Paul, that the financial side is now a very serious plan, right? Boundary written down, knowing where we're going. What I'm hearing today is incredible, the first ideas about programming and engagement and where the doors are and access and welcoming and all those things. But there has to be a plan on this side too.
Yes.
And that has to be the programming and education, or whatever you want to call it, and then add the financial, and it becomes the temple's comprehensive plan. And every organization that does well has one, and we're not scared of it because we understand that it can be changed.
Yep.
We understand that if somebody wants to do a child care center, we figure out how it fits into the mission, whether it's financially feasible, when you do it. I'm just using that as an example. I actually know very little about the nest, okay? Just a good example. I want to look at you and say, Daniel, as you're talking about all this stuff, and maybe we'll do this, and maybe we'll do that, my immediate reaction is, there's going to be a lot of maybes, it's going to be all over the place. We're going to say yes to everything, and how we're going to sustain it. Whereas if you use those verbs and you add nurture, and you add advocacy, and you add all those things, and then you figure out what fits, with all this programming and education, we have to know how many programs a year are we going to do by Zoom? How are we going to make sure that that connection happens? It's not just going to be anything that anybody wants to do, and it has to be financially boundaried. And
Yep.
that's not how we've done things historically,
Sorry.
but I'd like to hear, I want to shoot it back and say, what does that planning piece look like now in 2024 of
Yeah.
something that is flexible, can pivot, inclusive, engaging, but still gives us the ability to say, maybe not today?
You're 100% right. We are working on a plan. We have lots of thoughts. It's one of the reasons we want to do some focus groups, is to not just do things that we think people will like, but do things people actually want to go to. I appreciate
Julie.
that.
Pick to help.
I appreciate that. The other thing that I mentioned, we've been working a lot on rabbinic lanes and responsibilities, and I think that will also help, that it's not amorphous, that we are a team and we work really well together, but we all need certain areas to make sure that they happen and that people know what we're doing so they know who to go to. And that's been a lot of the work over the past year. So I'm hopeful as we move forward that it's written down. It's all written down. And I'm sure someone has it written down. It's all written down. It came from the board, along with the rabbis. But I'm hopeful that clarity will also lend to a better schedule and better programming and more thought behind all of that as well.
And I have to go next door in a moment to go teach the next session. But I also just want to say as a note to that, the two things you've heard in particular from us about a reinvigorated triple high or
Education, yep.
Under whatever
seniors program, whatever we're calling it, Alta Cockers Club,
54 plus.
whatever it is.
VIP.
And the religious events committee, those are actually downstream of the vision. They come from having that vision. So the reinvigorated triple high is the beginning of a process of reinvigorating affinity groups at CRC. We can all think of the other sorts of affinity groups, but the triple high is going to be sort of the first of them. We need other things like a true ritual committee. We need a group to work on the Sidur or the Machzor or what our kitchen looks like for Pesach or whatever it looks like. But again, we're starting with really what feels like blocking and tackling. And
So,
Last thing, I know that you had a vision.
And I have to go. Thank you,
I know that
everyone.
you had a visioning committee, Paul, that was working because Helen Petty and I work on the
Right.
faculty stuff. I know that was a little on hiatus because maybe it was an order of operations thing. I think it's time to bring that back and start talking about that stuff.
Julia, one of the things that kind of is in the ether here, there was in the 1970s when people were really sort of feeling like their synagogues were so big, these suburban synagogues, right? And so impersonal that a movement started called Havara, right? And that was good for the 70s. We need to come up with what's the Havarot for the 21st century, right?
You have until 2:15, just so you know. I know he's leaving because he has to prep, but the second set of breakout groups, we ended 2 and they started 2:15, so you're welcome to step out, but you don't have to in order to be on time for the next one.
Havarot for the 21st
Yep.
century. And the thing is, it's again, CRC is anything but impersonal, but that doesn't mean one of the things that happened with the LGBTQ Havara, and Philip, can tell you the history and the story, is that there were people who were tentative about being in a synagogue because historically they'd been alienated and turned away and rejected. And because we had a Havara, when people would come to the synagogue, they felt comfortable because they would look and they would see, there's someone from the Havara, there's someone from the Havara. The story of the LGBTQ Havara at the first phase, it outlived its need because people who were gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgendered felt so comfortable within the congregation because of the Havara that kind of the need for the Havara declined, right? What's the Havarot for the 21st century?
I think we have time for maybe one more, and then you're welcome to email us your thoughts, ideas, anything that you've thought of that you wish you could share here. Please send it on to us. We have time, I believe, for one more comment.
Hello?
Hi, Rob.
Yeah, what happened to the social responsibility circle? I heard it's been discontinued. That's what helped make CRC over the years, and you're shooting us in the foot when you don't have that. How can we get it going back again? I mean, that's real important.
We are working on bringing a lot of that back. The pandemic really broke down a lot of those groups, and we lost some of our people who facilitated those groups and led those groups. So we hear you, and yes.
But Rob, I wasn't here in the morning, the synagogue, but what I know is we highlighted 3 efforts, right, that are right now happening. One is Holy Ground, right? And Holy Ground is an amazing initiative that's gone for over 20 years where CRC and 5 churches that are in this neighborhood meet together and they plan programs, interfaith programs for the neighborhood. The second was the refugee resettlements circle. And they're going to need volunteers. There's more people coming from Afghanistan. There's more people coming from Ukraine. And the group that's done it so far has done an amazing job. But the more people that we get connected with that are refugees that are trying to establish a home here, we're going to need more CRC people, right? Yeah. And the third one was, Karen, what was the third one?
Oh, the garden, the mitzvah garden.
I mean, come on, the mitzvah garden. Feeding people in this neighborhood and going outside with people that you know, that you don't know, and making, Vicky's here, right? Those are some, even without a social responsibility circle active right now, there are social justice and social responsibility ways to get involved. And shame on us if not everyone knows about them, and that was part of the reason for highlighting them on this service.
I want to just highlight the refugee relief program. The Tikkun Olam Circle sort of evolved into the refugee relief circle, and they just won a national award from HIAS for their work. I mean, what they've done is spectacular. It's spectacular. And one thing CRC needs to do, I worked for a long time at Fleischman Hillard. We need to better publicize the things that we do. We did get a story in the Jewish Light about the refugee relief program, but we're the only synagogue in town that did anything like this, and it's fantastic. And in general, I think that people don't know enough about a lot of the things that we've done for a long time, and they get sort of taken for granted, the mitzvah garden being one, the Holy Ground thing being another. We need to do a better job of communicating with our members. Yeah.
One more thing. So last Sunday, I brought our 7th graders to Trinity Episcopal Church. We're partners with them. They serve a hot lunch every Sunday to people who are food insecure and unhoused often. And we got there, and there were 10 CRC members preparing the lunch that we served. I mean, like, things are happening still, even post-COVID, even in this crazy atmosphere we're in, where relationships feel edgy and all of that. We're still out there, just trying to do the best we can to make a difference. And the more people that help us, the bigger difference we'll make. And I think Henry gets the last word. Go, Henry, here.
I want to say something too. And no. Hold on, Henry. This might seem not important to you, but there's a person in this room who came for many years before anybody ever talked to her. And now she's a very important member of this congregation, a very good friend of mine. And she told me, she was here for years and nobody said anything to her. If you see somebody and you don't know who they are at a service, go introduce yourself. And you never have to worry about embarrassing yourself, because somebody told me that they walked in the door and somebody greeted them and said, "Are you new here?" And he said, "No, I'm the president."
Of the United States. This is Henry, everybody. He's having his bar mitzvah in December.
So on that note of Trinity, how could I get connected with them to help out? Trinity.
Great question. Who do you want to get connected?
Trinity. Wait, you were there, right? Yeah. We'll talk. Henry wants to, so we volunteered. Henry was with us. We had a great group of kids, young people, and emerging teenagers. And Henry, if you want to keep volunteering for the Trinity Episcopal Food Church Food Pantry, they will love to have you. So I will connect you, I promise you, and maybe some of your friends from the class are going to want to join you. So that's awesome. That's awesome. That what? Aaron, who, did that how many years ago? Oh, Vicky. That's right. It's all connected, you guys. It's all connected. Did you hear what Vicky said? This is really important. So Trinity has this food ministry, they call it. And some of it, the food you brought to services went to Trinity. The food we grow in our garden goes to Trinity. Our kids and adults volunteer at Trinity. Here we are in this neighborhood. Let's seize the opportunity to be good shepherds. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
So let's end on that note of applause. People, we have more programs. Thank you very much.
Say mitzvah court in the microphone.
Mitzvah court.
If you want to go to more breakout groups, they start at 2:15 across the street in the church, and then children's services will be back in here at 3:30.